Hi, all. My name is Chris Melky. I'm an AI enthusiast, and I wanted to bring you some details on how to clean up your inbox with the great AI agent called Lindy. So, you might have heard a lot about AI agents recently. Well, this one actually delivers, and it's a great tool to use to actually clean up your inbox and get that all squared away. So, here's what I'm going to be covering today. I'm going to be covering a brief intro to Lindy and what it's all about, what this AI agent can do. I'm going to show you Miro, which is a mind map or flowchart editor to show how we're going to triage this inbox and add labels. And then I'm going to build the email triager in Lindy and then show you the results. So here we go. Let's take a look and go ahead. So let's do a brief intro on Lindy. So Lindy is it's an agent, AI agents. You've heard a lot about them in the last probably year or so. They've been around a while. So what it does, it's a workflow engine. It automates tasks or repetitive processes such as parsing through your email. Also has tool integration. It integrates with Asana and Slack and Notion, Airtable. The thing is, it acts like a conductor. So it manages all these actions between the tasks seamlessly, so you don't know what's going on in the back end to make all this stuff work. It's an automation tool, so it's AI driven. So it can adjust to everything in real time. It can prioritize tasks. It uses natural language for you can take your own ideas, put it into a prompt, and use it to populate task generation so that it doesn't sound like AI. And then it also learns over time how you're using the tool and adapts to how you're actually working. So the great thing is that I'm not a low code, I'm a no code developer. Not even a low code developer. And this has a great drag and drop interface. It has pre-built templates, which I'll show you. And then also you can build onto this multiple designs and scale it up as needed with your team. So that's a brief intro of Lindy. And let's go ahead and take a look at what we'll be building in a Miro board. So we're going to go over to Miro. And this is Miro, and it has a whole bunch of mind maps, Kanban frameworks. So what we're going to do is I'm going to look at how we've mapped out what we're going to build in the Lindy email triager. So zoom this in a little bit. So what we're going to do is we're going to receive an email. Lindy's going to determine if it requires a label. If it doesn't require a label, then it's not going to put a label on it. If it does require a label, we're going to put in 5 different items that it needs to determine which label goes on it. We're going to say, is it important? Is it spam? Is it a newsletter? Is it a question? Is it a meeting? And then it applies the label and sends it in your inbox. So that's the brief flow of how this will work. And let's go take a look at Lindy AI. So now that we know how this is all going to be built. So Lindy AI, you can just go to lindy.ai on the web, and you can log in and try a free account, or do as I did, as I usually log in with my Google account. So I'm going to log in, sign in with Google, and I'm going to sign in with this account. And we go ahead, it loads up. Okay, so this is your basically your home page. It's got what it is that you'll build things in what's called the flow editor. So that was what we'll actually build. So what I usually do is that usually there's a template, and we're going to go over and find this template, and we're going to use email triager. So the one thing is that Lindy, as I mentioned, starts out with a great free plan. You can also upgrade that plan. You can have a pro plan at $49.99 a month, and you get 5,000 credits. And then you have a business plan, which is almost $300 a month, and you get up to 30,000 credits and premium actions, prior support. They throw that in there. So the free plan will give you, as you can see down here, about 390, like 400 credits. So I have 395 left because I did some demos on building this app. So let's go ahead over here and choose the email triager. There's also one down here is the email triager. So you can always bring that up, and we're going to add that, and it's going to drop that into our canvas. So the nice thing here is that Lindy, if you've experimented with other things, other tools before, and this is actually you're working with an AI agent, so don't be afraid of it, but this is what the flow will look like in our current labeling and email agent. So as you notice, Lindy has some nice guides here. It's conditions and guide to using the advanced email automation, which is really cool. Also, there's to add each label in an email sequence is what we're going to do, and customize the label name. We're going to get rid of this because it kind of will end up into our email flow. And so let's start on actually when we receive an email. So I'm going to actually filter this to my work account. So I have a work account here, and I want to filter basically any email that comes to this work account. And as this mentions is that if you don't have trigger in here, it could get really, really expensive, eating up all of your credits. So what you want to do is you want to kind of restrain this and put some guardrails on it. So what I'm going to do is say like you have a client that's very important or something like that. You always want to monitor his email. So I'm going to put myself in here as the client that's going to be needed. And then we'll look over here and we'll see that you can add groups, restrict by attachments. So you can allow all messages with attachments, only messages without attachments. And then email behavior will be handled in the same. So we're not going to change anything in here, but we just adjusted this. So now the email received from me, and it's going to look for anything from my other email address to the label on it. Okay, so, and then we're going to go to what is called conditions. So this, according to this, tells Lindy which label applies to the email. So if you notice that they've given you some sample ones here, so important, question, if you've used tools before, you hit the space bar and it becomes a grabber, go down this path, a question from a customer, newsletter goes down this path if it's a newsletter, spam. There's another condition in here, it looks like a custom thing, is that if it's a realtor, so this is kind of a tool for realtors that was already built. And so what we're going to do here is we're going to add a response, and it's going to go right on the end here where this is, and it's going to be, so conditions are basically looking through this and saying which one of these applies to my email. So I'm going to say, go down this path, if the client requests a meeting. So this what it'll do is it'll actually, so you see here, it's populated this, and we're going to rename it because we don't want that to be just this condition. So we're going to name it meeting. And then now you have this node that's a meeting. So now you have, according to all the rest of these, if you go back to your condition, you'll notice that meeting has been added to your conditions. So the other thing we're going to do is that obviously we're at the point where we need to label this. So we're going to say, okay, what are the conditions for labeling this a meeting? And we're going to click on this little plus sign, and we're going to perform an action. And then what I do is I search for the action just by typing in label, and it brings up add label to email. And this populates your email. So this populates the label, brings it into the canvas. So this is going to say, this is my email. So I'm going to switch this to my work email. You'll notice here it has different models that you can use. You can use Claude, you can use ChatGPT. Right now, I think I'll just use ChatGPT 4 Mini. So these are all available within Lindy for you to use. And then with email IDs, I'm not going to trigger it on any email IDs, but I'm going to put a label name in here. So a label name is going to be automatically generated by AI. So this will call it whatever it thinks, like meeting request or meeting time or something like that. It's going to figure out what it is, and it's going to actually populate it. You can set it manually or prompt the AI to fill out the field using a prompt. So that's the thing is, you have options here that you can actually set your label name to whatever you wish it to be. So the big crux about this is adding labels to emails. You get from an inbox that looks like a mess, like it is here, which is just crazy. This is my personal inbox, and get it down to something that looks really nice, something like this. So what we're going to do now, we're going to go back into Lindy, and we're going to save this. So you can also run tests on this to make sure that things work correctly. But it's a pretty simple flow, so we can go ahead and take a look at this and see how it's going to work. So I'm going to send an email from my personal account to my business account. I'm going to say next week. Okay, so one thing you'll notice is that once you save this, it becomes active. So right now, this means that this email triager is active in Lindy. It's going to be start watching this email to ensure that your email is going to be labeled. So the minute I send this, it's going to try to parse it and add an email label to it. So let's go ahead and I'm going to send this. I'm going to move this over here a little bit. And we're going to watch this inbox. So Lindy should actually go through and parse this out and figure out that I am asking for a meeting and then add a label to it that has a meeting request. So it's going to run it through the filter saying, okay, here it is. Can we meet next week? So the email has come through. Lindy's going to grab this. And so it may take a couple minutes for it to parse through the engine. So and we'll just refresh it. And there we go. So it just took a little refresh, but it came through as that it's a meeting request. So this has been assigned a meeting request, and this was done by Lindy. So you can actually look at this flow and everything else that's in here and make sure that everything has happened correctly to be sure that these have operated correctly. So this is a day you could see that this email triager has run. So here's how we're looking at it, is that it says, hey, it requires a label. This condition has met. The client requests a meeting. It adds a email label to the email, and then it obviously labeled it correctly in my inbox. So that is how we're looking at how to do this in Lindy. So we'll go back to the flow editor. And like I said, you have several options that if you wanted to build your own, you can go ahead and do that. And this is available on, on Lindy's site. So you can go on here, build your own email triager, and start off with some free credits. And hopefully you get something that you can use to organize that messy inbox. So, well, thanks for watching. Like I said, I hopefully you got something useful out of this. Please like and subscribe. And I'll see you next time with another tip to use agents and AI in a commonplace fashion that you can actually apply to your own life. Thank you.